and how best to solve the community problem. And in effect, they elect a politician. That politician, his or her job is to legislate those ideas and opinions into law. Those laws of opinions are then backed and enforced by the police at gunpoint. You could take cannabis, like the opinion on cannabis. Government opinion that cannabis is bad for everyone. If I were to smoke a plant, I'll be kidnapped.
That's not the opinion of the government.
The legislators, the whole function.
They have a law, not an opinion.
Yeah, the legislators legislate those opinions that are backed and enforced by the police, and those are the functions of government.
It's not always necessarily an opinion on how healthy it is. It's an opinion on its effect on like socio and
It's an opinion
context.
that's being backed and enforced by a gun. Can you agree with that?
No.
No, you can't. So if I were to smoke a plant right now, I would not be threatened with violence or being thrown into a cage?
No, you misinterpreted what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with the opinion itself. I'm disagreeing with your interpretation of it.
What define government then?
Government? It's essentially a way to keep a sense of equilibrium.
I don't want essential. Give me a definition.
A definition? A government is a bureaucratic or legislative body that manages everyday life.
Policy.
Makes policy, thank you.
Makes policy, and how are those policies enforced?
Through force, generally.
Through force, to gunpoint. All right, so it's an organization of violence that only knows how to solve problems through violence. All right, and that's the point I'm trying to get at here. All right, so this organization, right, so if government policy on cannabis, if I were to smoke a plant, I will be kidnapped, arrested, thrown into a cage, a prison, in which any point of refuse or resist because I don't agree with that opinion and try to run away, I'd be met with more violence or something.
You're sensationalizing.
Murder. No, this is a fact. Try to smoke a plant here and try to resist, try to walk away when a cop says don't. What happens to you? Why do you pull over on the side of the road when you see flashing lights behind you?
The threat of force.
Threat of force, right. There's a threat of being murdered or kidnapped if you do not obey, if you do not submit. That's a fact.
Again, you're sensationalizing it.
This is a fact. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that this is maybe not something you feel like that happens to you often, but there's 2 million people suffering in rape cages. That's also a fact because of a lot of these opinions on law. Many
what
of
do
them
you define as a rape cage?
Rape cage, well, I can show you statistics if you like. Give me your
I don't want statistics.
Statistics will show you. Term. Yeah, well, rape cage will be being thrown into a cage in which anything can happen, and a lot of
you mean are you going to use the word
it's
prison?
A cage. It's a cage. You may call it a prison.
The word prison is the technical term.
No, it's an abstract term to kind of fancying it up. A penitentiary sounds a nice, better term than a cage to lock up a human being, right?
Okay. Don't present your argument.
No, it's not present. No, I'm trying to be objective about this. You want to be abstract about it. You want to color and sugarcoat it. Well, I don't like the name cage. I prefer penitentiary. I prefer prison. It's a cage. There's bars behind it. How would you describe a prison? Cage, a wall in which you cannot escape, no freedom of movement to go where you want to?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a cage and that?
I'm not going to be used to convey an effect to a camera.
No. There's nothing to be good. Yeah, take good care.
I was just wondering, so what form of deterrence would well, if there were no government, what form of deterrence would, I guess, push people away or prevent them from committing such acts as robbery, thievery, kidnapping, and what have you? Because if there's no government, then there would be nothing to say that such said acts or crimes would be illegal.
Right. All right, so I guess first you want to examine how things function today, right? So the Supreme Court has ruled many times, several times, numerous times, that the police have no obligation to protect you. No obligation, no constitutional duty to protect your life or your property. Right. So you really live in a state in which that's absent. So in a free market society, you would have actual businesses that would say, you know what, we will protect your property, we will protect your life. This is like gated communities. So instead of Virginia being one monopolized community, the majority opinion over the minority, like in cannabis, for example, you'll have thousands of competing communities that would cater to the lifestyle and preferences of the millions of individuals in this country. So you'll have thousands of different polycentric legal systems, different judges that will stand up when you come into the room, right? Because you're paying their salary, right? Judges that you can say, you know what, I don't like your service, I don't think you do a good job, I'm going to go seek another judge, I'm going to seek a better dispute resolution organization. Your credit card company has this, for example. eBay has this. Etsy has dispute resolution. All it is a judge is a person who gives an opinion on how best to provide a fair and impartial decision, right, on disputes, right? So in a free market society, you have real respect for private property, whereas here there's not, right? The government needs to steal your property under the name of taxes in order to protect your property, right? So you'll have a lot of competition to provide these services, whereas it doesn't exist here today. Another one would be social ostracism, right? The risk of being socially ostracized outweighs the cost of wanting to do that violence, because you'll find that it's not cost beneficial. You'll find that when government is removed, nearly half your income's returned, right? And nearly half your income is no longer being stolen. You have a lot more economic freedom to thrive, to be successful. You don't have a lot of government restrictions on what you can and cannot do with your body or with your property, right? Regulations, as they call it. So you have a great opportunity to excel and succeed, and find that it's more, the cost is like, it's a lot more valuable, a lot more enriching. I could find more wealth here. Instead of trying to steal, I could create wealth and make and turn that into a profitable business, right? Whereas like today, you have a lot of crime because of the war on drugs. Government created that, right? So artificially inflates the drug prices, and it leads a lot of gang escalation of violence. So without government, no war on drugs, the price of the drugs goes back down, and there's really no incentive to get involved in the trade anymore.
Understandable. Okay, so how would you establish the, I guess, the non-structural way of not having a government? Like how, so are you saying a revolution should take place, or an insurrection in which, you know, we'd all go to the White House and, you know, I don't know, steal their windows and chairs?
Right. No, not at all, not at all. Okay. I mean, that only teaches people that, doesn't really teach people anything. That yelling at buildings is not going to change anything, right? Breaking windows is not going to change anything. Having more integrity. In my life, I don't use violence to solve my problems. Let's start with that foundation, right? The government only knows how to solve problems through violence. So let's, you know, remove ourselves and socially ostracize government, and let's turn to our community and create a community of individual people who have respect for private property, have a respect for each other as equals, have a respect for the non-aggression principle, that we find it wrong and immoral to initiate that force, no matter your title or what color costume you wear, right? So maybe we start from the ground up, right? So no begging politicians, strangers you've never met, for freedoms that were yours to begin with at birth, right? You were born free. So you know what? There's no business for strangers called politicians then to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body or your property, right? So we should not, because begging for them to be free acknowledges that there are slave masters, right? Acknowledges that they have dominion over us, right? And they have none.
All right. The reason that my initial question, as far as if there are Christians involved, or why I asked you if you were an atheist, because well, I'm not saying now we've kind of leaned away from the initial ideology of government, which was that it was founded upon Christian statutes and beliefs and, you know, behaviors and whatnot. So now that that's happened, and that we've obviously strayed away from that, you know, idea to begin with, I want to say, so, okay.
But I like your point that you mentioned, like, what's funny, I guess, a lot with borrowing a lot of Christian examples, like the 10 Commandments, you have 10 Bill of Rights, right? The Constitution is the new Bible. However, you want to examine what is the Constitution, the formation of this government. So you want to purport it's a contract, right? That was signed by like over 30 people. However, wouldn't you find it wrong and immoral for someone to sign your name on a document you didn't give consent to, right? If you did not give them power of attorney, right? So that contract then only really abides to those 37 people who signed it. You can't force the unborn to be part of a contract. It's like forcing you to be part of AT&T before you were born. Right, so you have no freedom to choose Sprint, no freedom to create your own company, to provide your own contracts. You're forced under this contract, right? So that's, you will find that to be invalid, right? If you never gave, you know, you never signed away contract for like Netflix or any other thing. But the government wants to force this contract until they're born, like Social Security. They forced you when you were born to pay for it. You're like they're using you as cattle. They're using you as collateral, right? To pay for a system, Social Security, that you'll never have when it's time for you to retire, right? So you have to kind of look at that, I guess, more objectively. Right? It's not a real contract, right? If it was a real contract, you'll have your signature on it, right? You will show me factual evidence that you do have a contract with government, but you don't. It doesn't exist.
And would you say a person who has the trait or characteristic of humility is less likely to agree with you as far as, I guess, submitting to a, you know, kind of an outline or a set of rules being put forth to keep everything in order and in place?
I think, I mean, humility and egoism and you know, keep a balance between the two. You know, if you're proud of something, of your own work, be proud. You know, don't be too proud though, right? Balance your virtues and your vices. But in terms of, I guess, these particular rules, I think this is something that most people would like to agree to, because most people like cannabis, and people will like to have the freedom to smoke a plant, right? And there's some people who don't. Well, without a government, you have thousands of communities that caters into those lifestyle and preferences. You can have an apartment complex that's 14